Hi, everyone. It's Louis Schiff here. I am the chairman of the board for Birthing of Giants Fellowship Program. We've been running this program for nearly 10 years now, 2017. And it's, in fact, the program itself, Birthing of Giants as a program, has been around for about a quarter of a century. We rebooted it to kind of reflect current business state in 2017. And we keep redeveloping it and tweaking it and coming up with our new versions because business is changing incredibly fast, but the fundamentals remain the same. So I'd like to spend the next 30 minutes or so just answering some of the questions that we received in preparation for this live stream, but also answering the questions I'm asked all the time about Birthing of Giants. And the first one is, just to be clear, if you're listening to this or watching this, who should be paying attention to what Birthing of Giants is doing at our fellowship program? The answer is a business owner. This is a business owner who might have a partner or two or three. They could be in a family business, but more often than not, they started the business themselves. And here's what they look like right now. They've got revenues 5, 10, 25, 50, 100. We've had folks up to $500 million in revenues in the program. But why is that important, those two qualities? One is, if you started it yourself or with a partner or two or three, you're basically, your capital structure looks a certain way. You probably started the business, unless you came from a very, very wealthy family who gave you a lot of money to start it. You probably started the business using what we call a short throw cycle financing program, meaning any money you put into it, you had to make it back pretty quickly, maybe as far out as 6 months. Usually it's 30, 60, 90 days. So that's who you were when you started the business. And now you might be doing $25 million in revenues, but your capital structure still looks like it used to look in some ways. In other words, you're still not a deeply well-financed, well-capitalized business. And you may not know it, but you make a lot of your decisions because of that financing. So when you and a partner or two or three started a business with that capital structure, you make a ton of decisions that others would make differently if their capital structure were different. So I'll talk a bit about that. And then the second thing about you is that if you've got $25 million in revenue, what that really looks like when you boil it all down is you've got a ton of promises you've made to people. So you've got promises you made to your clients, promises you've made to your employees, promises you've made to your vendors. And a lot of the business is really just making sure you keep your promises. And sometimes there's money left over at the end of the year. Sometimes there's a lot of money left over at the end of the year. But your business is really revolving around making sure you regularly keep your promises to primarily those three groups: your clients, your employees, your vendors, and I would include your bank in that. What does that mean? Well, if you started the business right now, you started the business with your own capital structure, which is to say enough money to hold it steady for 2, 3, 6 months, and you pretty much spent 5 days or 6 days or 7 days a week keeping your promises to everybody. That may not be how you describe your business, but that's how a lot of folks in the Birthing of Giants fellowship community show up. And what we can show them over 5 days is how big their company could be if we look at that anew, if we start with a fresh sheet of paper. So what that means on two ends, one is if your capital structure looked different, which has a lot to do with your financial model. Think of it as your financial factory. Money comes in, you do stuff with it. Product goes out, there's some money left over. How that financial model operates is one of the most thoughtful places in business. What you're doing may or may not be the most current version about how that's done compared to other companies. And so a lot of folks kind of are still working on a financial or a business model that's 3, 5, 25 years old. And so the capital infrastructure underneath that is just a bad fit. And two is, if you are really spending all your days just keeping promises to people, which we'll call the tyranny of the urgent. You're always managing this month's concerns, then you're not really finding the time to think or be strategic. So as I speak to you now, I literally came home yesterday from the Gathering of Giants, which is where all the graduates of Birthing of Giants Fellowship assemble in January. And we spent 2 days thinking strategically about what we want to accomplish over the next 12 months. So every business is different. Every business has a different age and stage, and therefore their 1 year from today plans are different. But we also pick a topic, and this time we picked profit sharing plans. And so not only will they all be working on their unique 1 year from today plans for the next 12 months, they'll all be working at different levels on implementing or upgrading their profit sharing plans. And why do we have profit sharing plans? Because one of the goals of building a business that can run where you're in the strategic seat, not so much in the tyranny of the urgent or the tactical seat, is that you have really good people around you, and profit sharing plans kind of lock down those really good people. So they make sense. So for 2025, one of our themes of the year is really buttoning down our management teams. And that started with building profit sharing plans so that we, make sure that we're aligned with them. Okay. So who shows up at Birthing of Giants Fellowship Program? It's this business owner who started the business at the proverbial kitchen table, who had a short throw cycle. They really only had 30, 60, 90, maybe 6 months of run room before this business really had to start pouring cash back. And they're years and years into it, and they spend all their time now, the results of a very successful business, which is that you've made a lot of promises to people. And when they come to Birthing of Giants, we have a methodology which over 5 days basically moves you into a completely different perspective on your business so that you can see all the places it's locked up that have prevented you from growing it and all the ways to unlock it so that just 5 days later, you can see how much bigger your company could be. Now, I'm just going to say this briefly. Not everybody wants their company to be bigger. I mean, everybody wants their company to be bigger if it's easy, but not everybody wants to make their company bigger if it really means rethinking the business. But the people who come to Birthing of Giants clearly want that. So when they want to come into the Birthing of Giants Fellowship Program, what they really want to know is how to turn their company into something much bigger than it is, and what's it going to take from a management structure, a revenue program structure, a capital market structure, and a financial model structure, how they go about doing it. So just to reiterate this before I go on to the next question. 1, you probably started the business with your own money years ago. 2, you probably spend all your time fulfilling the promises you've made to your stakeholders, employees, vendors, customers. And 3, you're coachable. You're ambitious. You're excited about what the future can hold. You want to know how to unlock your business. Now, I'll leave that part there because other people ask me, well, is this how I learn this program at Birthing of Giants where I learn how to sell my business? If that's what makes sense, is this where I go to my program to learn how to maximize profits? If that's what makes sense. If this is the program, do I go to add revenues? If that makes sense. What makes sense is that your company is blocked in a lot of ways. We can unblock it, and we can show you through your management teams, your financial model, etc., how to reach a much higher state. So I'll quickly share with you, don't come in with too many preconceived notions to Birthing of Giants, because it always changes along the way in just 5 days. We have people who go in saying, I want to sell my business, to I want to start buying other businesses. We have people saying, I want to keep my business forever, to I want to unlock the capital markets opportunity in my business. Trust me when I tell you this, that if you come in with a lot of preconceived ideas, all we're going to do is spend a lot of time unraveling them. And it's okay if you walk out with the same idea you started with. You say, I'm here to learn how to sell my business for the most amount of money. 5 days later, we have a plan to help you sell your business for the most amount of money. I'm just sharing with you, and realistically, a lot of people come in with a preconceived idea that they just want to maximize profits, and then they realize that they can look at this totally different. And for example, their business might be one that starts buying other businesses. The more open you are, the better you are. But this 5-day process, let me make a kind of a comment about why it's 5 days. It's literally 5 days for a reason. On day 1, you're very fixated on the business you've built. Your phone is filled with messages about people. Hey, boss, I've got a customer problem. We've got an employee problem. We got a vendor problem. We got a bank problem. And so your business is your head is consumed by the current business. By days 2, 3, and 4, and then finally by day 5, we have fully unlocked what's possible. And trust me, if I could do it in one day, I would. the problem is it's too hard for your brain to transition in 24 or 48 or even 72 hours. So we have this process that shows you your business from lots of different perspectives. And then you kind of leave and your head hits the pillow and you think about things differently. You come in and we do it again. And by the time the fourth day arrives, you're completely thinking about things differently. And we spend day 5 just kind of making sure we put you back together so that we can get onto your plan and just organizing how we can follow you back to your office, and so that you and your management team can start implementing your new plan. So that's who it's for. It's for a person who's started a business probably with their own money, has a limited capital structure because of it, spends most of their days keeping their promises to their vendors, employees, clients, and then is open and coachable. That's the kind of the 3-part ingredients about who joins Birthing Giants Fellowship Program. We have a process. When you tell us your details about your business and who you are, we have a process to see how well you match up to that profile. We really won't invite you into the program if you're too far astray. I would tell you without a doubt the most common reason why people are rejected is that it's clear that they're not coachable. They just tell us that they know everything about their business. So they tell us that they really are only want to, find new revenues or something. And it's just too hard to bring a person into a coaching program who's not coachable. It has an impact on everybody else in the room. So I will also say, since we just finished our Gathering of Giants program 2 days ago for January for the year 2025, it was a room full of open people, and they were planning their next 12 months. These are folks who already graduated Birthing of Giants. They come back for refreshers to plan the year. And they're a room full of open entrepreneurs, which if you can imagine what that's like, they share their challenges openly. They offer to help each other openly. They, obviously there's a lot of emotion tied up in our business. They're not afraid of that part of it. And they're willing to pivot if they were going down a path and it didn't work. They'll try another path. So that openness that we look for in our evaluation process shows up for years to come and basically informs our community. And of course, you have other communities that you might be part of, entrepreneurial communities, and they're all valuable for a different reason. But I have spoken to, literally thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs over the years. And the ones in our program will say they've never been part of a program where everyone's as open to possibility, open to change, and open to helping each other as they are in this program. So that's what we are filtering for at the beginning, and it pays off for years to come. Okay. The program, we are asked about the price of the program. It's an expensive program, and it's expensive for 2 reasons. One is those 5 days, I bring in some of the most powerful post-exit entrepreneurs in America to help you for each of those 5 days achieve your goals of seeing how big your company was meant to be. And so it's almost like an army mission. I mean, I've got expert flying in, working with us intensely, expert 2 flying in the next day, expert 3 flying in the next day. And all these folks, we have booked their time years in advance. I mean, we already booked their time for 3 years out. And we stay true to those timings. We stay true to those commitments that they make to help you. And then at the end of 5 days, we keep following you back to your home office to help you so that we're with you as you implement the plan. So, folks who have a concern about the price, which I totally respect and understand, you can't leave Birthing of Giants without a 7-figure increase in the value of your business unless you stayed there for 5 days and did absolutely nothing. So I have a hard time relating, an expensive week with the impact of it, because we're at the low 5 figures for this week and then the ongoing coaching. And, the impact's going to be 7 figures within a year. So I just have a hard time fully embracing the challenge. The time commitment is a much bigger one, right? 5 days. Why do we need 5 days? Those 5 days are absolutely necessary to move you from where you are when you come in. I've described you already, the tyranny of the urgent, focused on current commitments, promises you've made to people, and with a structure, a financial model, a capital structure, a management structure that reflects kind of the origins of your company. And it has to be moved and changed, and it takes days to do it. It doesn't take months to do it. It takes days. And so here's the way I look at it. There's 52 weeks in a year. Really, when you think about how many weeks are really good working weeks, there's something like 42, 44 after you take out holidays and things. And so really that is the question. How do you give up one of those 44 weeks in your year? And I think it's a great question. And if you don't want to figure out how much bigger your company can be with one of those 44 weeks, or you literally cannot leave your company for a week. Again, you know where I'm going. You can't make something better when you are stuck fixing it the way it is. It's the classic, if you're in the airplane and the oxygen thing drops, you have to put it on yourself before you put it on the people next to you. So if you can't leave your company for a week because it'll fall apart, then you're never going to solve the problem. You're never going to make this company bigger than it is. So I never want to minimize the importance of 5 days of your life, because each of your days is really, really valuable. Any business owner will tell you money's less valuable than time as they go on. But all I can say is you have to spend 5 days thinking about your business in order to fully unlock it. There's no shortcut, because you come in with a preconceived set of ideas, and it just takes us, trust me, if I gave you a day, if I stayed through, if we did 20 straight hours, 25 straight hours of education and work with you so that you were there for 2 days instead, you'd have to not sleep for 2 days. You'd be a complete wreck after about 5 hours, because the information we bring you is so powerful. And by 10 hours, you'd be completely out of whack. And there's no way we could do it. We need to spend the 5 days giving you the equivalent of an MBA, like literally an MBA for entrepreneurs, for 1 week of your life. And we have to leave with a plan. And that plan has to go through a few revisions and iterations, which we do with you, and then a plan to help you implement it with your executive team back home. So the cost of the program, which is low 5 figures, that's the cost of the program, because basically every day I have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of talented people coming in to work with you, and then to keep going afterwards. So it's not, that's the nature of the cost structure. The 5 days is always a lot to ask as well. If the pricing is difficult for you, well, that's probably not the right program for you. We have payment programs, so people can pay over a year, they can pay over a few months. We're happy to support that, of course. But if you really think that the spending, $20 some odd thousand in order to increase the value of your business by millions is not a good deal, you probably shouldn't apply to the program to begin with. Okay. What are the key takeaways from the program? So this is a little hard to explain other than the way I've always explained it, because each of you has a different business. It's you serve a different type of customer. You are absolutely at a different age and stage of your business and personally. And you might be a services business. You might be a product business. You might serve government. You might serve consumers. You might serve other businesses. So there's almost no way to tell each of you generically what you'll get other than this. On day one, we focus entirely on what the capital markets, so the private equity firms, the M&A people, are telling us about our businesses. Now, this is not a setup for you to sell the business. All I'm saying is those folks I just mentioned, the capital markets people, their job is to be capitalists. And capitalism is one thing and one thing only, which is that capital wants to be bigger and wants to grow. Capital is seeking growth. So when you look at the world through the eyes of capitalists, capital market people, and you can run a dry cleaning business or you can run a tire repair business, doesn't matter. Most of you inevitably look at the business as this combination of, people, capital, infrastructure, technology, and the capital people only look at your business as capital, as a financial factory. So it just happens to be the case that those capital markets folks look at your business wildly differently than you do. So for you not to understand how they look, the way they look at your business is malpractice. Okay, it would be like if you want to sell your house and you said, I don't really care what anyone else is selling houses for in my neighborhood, and I don't really care what those houses look like. I'm just going to, sell my house. You'd find out over and over again that you misunderstand the question. When you sell your house, it's relative to the other houses around you. When you sell your house, it's relative to whatever those features of those houses are compared to yours. And so capital markets people look at your business and they look at every other business always the same, which is where's the best place to put my capital. Okay. And the fact that you have not had the time to take that, to get that education is understandable. But here we do it compacted into 5 days. We teach you 20 years worth of capital market thinking in 5 days. The second thing we teach you is financial model transformation, which is clearly related to the first one, capital markets. So financial model transformation is, what do you need to do to your financial model to make it a more explosive, impactful business? So a very simple example would be, we always use this example, Blockbuster compared to Netflix, right? Blockbuster had all their money in inventory in these VHS tapes that they had to store, and Netflix streams. So the way they don't really have inventory in a traditional sense. Also, at Blockbuster, you would pay for the video, maybe the day you rented it or 2 days later or whatever. And at Netflix, you're paying it the first of the month. It's just a very simple example of how they both did exactly the same thing, but obviously Blockbuster is gone and could not pivot to streaming fast enough. And Netflix committed to a very different financial model early on and kind of found a way through it, and now is one of the most valuable companies in the world. When we talk about how big your company can be, we need to look at your financial model and explore your cash conversion cycle. We need to explore the way that you act as a capitalist, essentially. And when we figure out a better financial model, we have seen some of the biggest, most explosive growth. We've seen companies come in, I'm not kidding when I say this, worth nothing. Like nobody would buy them for anything, and they produce a small income for the owner. And 5 years later, they're exiting for hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in our program because they didn't understand the opportunity that was lurking inside their financial model. So that is one of the biggest unlocks we can do for any company in this 5 days. The third thing we can do is the way you drive revenue is absolutely still connected to the way you drove revenue years ago, because that's almost always the fire that lights our businesses up, is we drive revenue to our businesses. So we have to come up with new ways to consider how revenue comes in. I know that sounds a bit mysterious, but there's a lot of ways revenue can come in. Right now, you sell. We can be very creative about how we get revenue to come into the business in a way that will change the game for you, change the profits of your business, change your revenue, obviously, and change what your company's worth out there if you ever did want to sell the business. But a lot of folks, after going through our program and implementing these ideas, they don't want to sell the business because now it's spitting off 7 or 8 figures a year in profit. And, if they have a great management team there, it's a totally different worldview. So that's part 3. So part 1 was capital markets. Part 2 is financial models. Part 3 is revenue amplification, we call it. And part 4 is called scalable management. It's really the people, the smart, strategic people who help you run the business. And it's figuring out how to button that all up so that we find great talent, which, by the way, you have to address capital markets, financial models, and revenue application before you can get to management, because you have to tell those managers the story of what you're doing with the business. And it's those first 3 I just mentioned: revenue, financial markets, and capital market structure. So all 4 of those are almost always the answer to every business that comes in, no matter what the age and stage, no matter what the sector of the business: capital markets, financial models, revenue, and management. Now, when you hear that, you can probably relate to all of those things. After all, everyone here has approached a bank at some point along the way and said, how can I borrow money, or however they've approached the capital markets, whether it's banks or whether it's private equity or whatever. And we know you're getting phone calls from private equity almost daily to see if you want to be sold. So you're in the capital markets, even if you're out of the capital markets. Financial models is just one of the great misunderstood opportunities for most businesses. And revenue amplification also. And management is really one of the harder ones to get right. But it's always going to be a combination of those 4. And we want to help you with all 4 of them. And we want to go back to your home office when it comes time to implement with all 4 of those. And you can't do all 4 of those in a day or 2. You can think about them for 5 days and come out with a really good plan. And then, of course, you'll implement over the next 12 months. And that's the whole program, is how big can your company be? Well, we've got to take on capital markets, financial models, revenue amplification and management in order to get there. And it's hard. Now you can see why at the beginning of this conversation, I said, not every one of you is going to be up for this challenge. It's a challenge, but the results are consistently in the millions and sometimes billions of dollars. So your takeaways, this is really important. I get asked about like tangible takeaways, and we call it your 1 year from today plan, but it basically affects what we call PREP. Your profits, that's the P, your revenues, that's the R, and your exit prices, that's the EP, your PREP, profits, revenues, exit prices. So you walk out with a 1 year from today plan, and then we will help you with your management team to implement that 1 year from today plan. But the 1 year from today plan is going to show up in PREP, profits, revenues, exit prices. And all of us have a different take on those. Sometimes revenue is more important than profits, and sometimes profits is more important than exit prices. But those are the three kind of levers in your business, right, when it comes to the finances. Now, you may hear all this and say, wow, this sounds like some sort of a financial program. It's not. It's from the entrepreneur's point of view. Entrepreneurs are operators. Entrepreneurs are often salespeople. Entrepreneurs are strategic thinkers. And sometimes entrepreneurs are financial people, usually not. But we can teach you how to think about your business as the entrepreneur, as the strategist, as the sales-oriented person, as the operations and product person, to affect the finances positively, profits, revenues, exit prices, PREP. And so it is a program that teaches you how the capital works in your business, but it does it from the point of view of the entrepreneur. So it's much more, I kind of describe it as like vegetables covered in Cheez Whiz, right? This is the way we serve vegetables to our kids. We basically cover the hard stuff, which is the financial stuff, in profits, revenues, and exit prices, because that's the fun stuff. So we have a very good methodology over 5 days of teaching you how to be a much smarter financial thinker about your business, even though to you it's going to feel like you're eating Cheez Whiz. Okay, so the takeaways are this 1 year from today plan that affects profits, revenues, exit prices, PREP. And what help do I have when I get home is a common question we get. So folks will say, okay, I do my 5 days, now what? So we have a coaching program that will follow your home, because here's the weak point in this whole conversation is how well did you delegate it to your team, and how well are you tracking results? And so that's where we want to follow you home. So we will literally interface with you, your number two, sometimes 5 or 6 or 10 members of your leadership team. And we will, it's all virtual, but we will basically follow you back to your home office to help you implement it, help you communicate it, help you explain it. And then there's other things that come along the way. Sometimes there is an opportunity where you need capital, and we'll introduce you to some people who can provide capital. Sometimes there's times when you need talent, and we'll introduce you to people who can find talent for you. So we're there to teach, but we're there to help you implement. Here's the summary of what you'll do in just 5 days at Birthing of Giants. Basically, I can tell you this for sure, that the results you get after 5 days, that 1 year from today plan, is the equivalent of, I would say, 1 to 3 years worth of you knocking your head against a wall, trying this, trying that, trying the other thing, trying the thing your buddy told you to try. It's, I'm not saying it's not a way to go, but instead of 3 years, it's 5 days. So that's really the way to look at it. Instead of wasting a lot of time and money on things that don't work, our program basically will show you these are the things that are working. And so the simple premise is this: for 5 days of your time, we can save you as many as 3 years worth of wasted time and resources, because there are, your business is unique in some ways, but it's not unique in a lot of other ways. As an entrepreneur, you're unique in some ways, but you're not unique in other ways. And so this is like best practices type stuff. You want to look at what works in a lot of other businesses and what works with a lot of other entrepreneurs to create profits, revenues, and exit prices. And if you want to save yourself a lot of time and heartache, you'll do it in 5 days instead of 3 years. So that's the Birthing of Giants program, Fellowship Week. It's amazing. You come in as strangers, you exit with friends for life, because this 5-day experience is transformative. And you will discover how big your company was meant to be after these 5 days. And then you will exit with a 12-month program and a team to help you implement. Your job will be easier. Your company will be more profitable. you'll have a bigger impact on your industry. You could affect your family for generations to come through things like exit price valuation. If there's an exit in your business that could unlock the financial value of your business one day in the future. We are fully supportive of the entrepreneurial business owner's experience. That's who we are. I still run businesses today. Every one of my faculty members still run businesses today. And I hope you take some time to schedule a call with our success team to see if you're a good fit for the Birthing of Giants Fellowship Program. Thanks for spending this half hour with me. If I didn't answer a question you have, you can just send it in to us on our website. There's 100 ways to email us or to LinkedIn me or anything like that. Very happy to answer questions. Check out howididitvideos.com as well, because we have all the success stories of our graduates there, or a lot of them. And you'll see a lot of different businesses, a lot of different stages of success. Thank you for your time today and have a really great week.